How do you maintain your car to make it last as long as possible without spending a fortune in repairs? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. For this video, I'm going to share the best maintenance habits and driving habits that you need to use to make your car last as long as possible and save as much money as possible too, as recommended by some of the best mechanics in the industry. So if you are wondering how to properly take care of your car to make it last as long as possible without overspending, then make sure to stick around until the end of this video. And if you enjoy and get value out of this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I post 2 videos a week, always straight to the point, valuable car buying advice designed to help you, the consumer. As far as vehicle maintenance is concerned, fluid changes are probably one of the most debated areas, especially when it comes to oil changes. On the one side of the debate, you have car manufacturers which often recommend oil changes being performed every 7,500 to 15,000 miles or 15 to 25,000 kilometers. And on the flip side, you have dealers and mechanics which are trying to get you to change your oil as often as possible, usually every 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometers. So which one is exactly right? Well, the vast majority of reputable mechanics that I consulted with from the Car Help database seem to be in agreement that oil changes need to be done roughly every 5,000 to 6,000 miles or 7,000 to 8,000 kilometers. This is the norm for most modern cars which use synthetic oil, and you should try to lean towards the shorter end for those who live in severe driving conditions. Stretching your oil change intervals any longer than that could potentially lead to long-term engine damage, including oil consumption, sludge buildup, and increased wear on the bearings and piston rings of the engine. Remember, most manufacturers are not concerned whether your car lasts as long as possible. All they care is whether it makes it to the end of the warranty. So if you want to make your car last, you are going to need to change the oil at a reasonable interval. Following a reasonable oil change interval should help maximize the life of your engine and help keep it running smoothly for a very long time. Now, if you don't do a lot of driving and you're not able to hit 5,000 miles or 8,000 kilometers within the span of 1 year, then you need to make sure that you're changing your engine oil at least once a year, or if you live in severe driving conditions, every 6 months. Severe driving conditions can include those who do a lot of short distance stop and go driving, or those who live with extremely cold winters. And speaking of winter, another maintenance item that you need to be keeping in mind for extreme weather is your windshield washer fluid. As temperatures approach near freezing, you must drain your summer fluid and use an appropriate antifreeze washer fluid to prevent damage. One excellent product that you can use is Rain-X Clearview Windshield Washer Fluid, which is your best ally for safer driving in bad weather. Quite simply, Rain-X Clearview lets you see clearer and drive safer on the road, no matter the weather. Available in 3 winter-ready formulations, including Biosource, Winter Shield, and Extreme Protection, Rain-X uses exclusive water-repelling technology to quickly repel rain, sleet, snow, and ice. Although the Extreme Protection formula is rated for up to minus 50 degrees Celsius, I'm using the bestseller Winter Shield formula, which is still rated for an impressive minus 45 degrees Celsius. It comes ready to use and should never be diluted with water. For optimal performance, empty and flush the windshield fluid reservoir completely before adding fluid, and warm up your car to warm up the windshield too. All 3 formulations work great, but you should use whichever one is going to protect you from the lowest windshield temperatures in your area. To learn more, just visit the Rain-X website in the description box below. And in addition to windshield washer fluid, another fluid that you need to keep a close eye on is your engine coolant. The cooling system of your car should be checked for leaks and proper function at servicing time, and you should have a complete coolant flush done every 4 to 5 years. Coolant becomes contaminated and can cause corrosion and oxidation over time. A complete coolant flush of both the radiator and engine block will help prolong the life of the cooling system components and help prevent against engine leaks. In addition to coolant and engine oil, another fluid that you need to keep in mind for maintenance is your transmission fluid too. Modern automatic transmissions can be a really tough cookie. Some are now so complicated and technologically advanced that servicing them and replacing the transmission fluid can be a pretty tricky procedure. And it's not that uncommon to hear stories of cars with high mileage with a properly shifting transmission that went for a transmission fluid change only to come out with a slipping and essentially broken transmission. The risk and potential cost of servicing automatic transmissions has gotten to the point where it really should only be done by dealers and professionals who specialize in the particular vehicle. And of course, just like coolant and engine oil, you need to make sure that you're using the appropriate fluid for your vehicle. Automatic transmission fluid, including those for continuously variable or CVT transmissions, should be changed roughly every 50 to 60,000 miles or 80 to 100,000 kilometers. And yes, transmission fluid changes should even be done with transmissions that come with lifetime fluid that comes sealed from the factory. Remember, manufacturers are not concerned whether the car lasts beyond the warranty period, so it's up to you whether to maintain your car properly if you want to maximize its lifespan. And considering that a full transmission replacement can easily cost upwards of $7,000 to $8,000 if it hasn't been maintained properly, it just seems worth it in the long run. Manual transmissions, however, are a little bit more straightforward and simple to maintain, so change the fluid roughly every 30,000 miles or 50,000 kilometers with a simple drain and fill, and if you do so, it should last the lifetime of the car. This is also the case for all-wheel drive components, including the transfer case and differentials too. These critical driveline components have fluid that needs to be changed roughly every 30,000 miles or 50,000 kilometers if you want to maximize their lifespan. Just like a transmission, failing to change the fluid on a regular basis could lead to premature failure down the road. So don't neglect these important drivetrain components. Make sure that they're changed at the appropriate intervals, regardless of what the manufacturer or the dealer says. And that brings us to the final fluid that you need to maintain, which is your brake fluid. The complete braking system of your car should be checked for proper wear and function at service time, and brake fluid should be flushed every 3 to 4 years to ensure proper braking function and help prevent failure of brake components like the brake calipers. It's not a critical or urgent maintenance item like some of the other ones that I mentioned, but it's still something you should keep in mind. Beyond fluids, it's also important to keep a close eye on tune-up related service items like spark plugs, air filters, and your fuel filter too. These should all be replaced at the manufacturer rated intervals in order to maintain optimal performance and reliability. Do not skip these services. Nothing is more disastrous than an engine with old spark plugs that are seized inside the engine and are really difficult to remove. Changing these important parts will also help to improve the fuel economy of your car too, so make sure that they're changed at the right time. The same is also true of timing belts if you happen to have an engine that uses one. Now fortunately, most modern engines no longer use a timing belt. They now use a timing chain, which doesn't need to be serviced. There are still, however, a few engines on the market with a timing belt, and if you happen to have one, you need to make sure that it's replaced at the appropriate time, which is usually around 100,000 miles or 160,000 kilometers. Now, replacing a timing belt can be a very labor-intensive and expensive job, but it's still something that needs to be done, especially if you have an interference engine. Otherwise, you could have a complete engine failure if the timing belt breaks. Beyond that, however, most of the other maintenance items on your car should really only be replaced when they wear out. This includes components like your brakes, tires, and your suspension parts too. There are some other maintenance items that you could keep in mind in order to keep your car running as smoothly and reliably as possible. This includes the use of a high-quality fuel system cleaner. But this is something that doesn't necessarily need to be done on every car, especially those with direct fuel injection, where a fuel system cleaner is really not going to do anything. When it comes to modern cars with advanced engine technology, including direct fuel injection and turbocharging, the way you drive the car is just as important as the way that you're maintaining it. For example, it's good to stay in the habit of driving your car on a regular basis and not letting it sit for prolonged periods of time. And when you do drive your car, you have to make sure that you drive it for longer distances in order to get the engine up to operating temperature. This will help to prolong the life of your engine and help prevent some drivability issues, including rough running issues, misfires, and other things of this nature. The bottom line is that most modern cars need to be driven regularly and for longer distances in order to warm up and run as reliably as possible. So try your best to avoid short distance drives, especially those that are under around 3 miles or 5 kilometers, that don't allow the engine to warm up properly. This is also really important for your battery maintenance too. Remember, modern cars have a lot of advanced technology, and a lot of this technology is constantly drawing on the battery of your car. So if you allow a modern car to sit for too long without being used, say for around 1 to 2 weeks, it could potentially drain the battery and you're going to be left with a dead car that's not able to move. Now, gas cars and hybrid cars are not the only ones that need to be maintained in this way. There are some maintenance practices that you need to keep in mind for electric cars too, if you want them to last as long as possible. For example, lithium-ion batteries really don't like to be discharged all the way to 0% and charged all the way to 100% on a regular basis. In order to help them last for as long as possible, it's best to keep a lithium-ion battery somewhere between a 20 to 80% charge. It's also a good idea to try to avoid using those level 3 DC fast chargers on a regular basis too. Although they are very convenient to use, they can harm the battery pack to a certain degree. So whenever possible, just try to use regular level 2 power whenever you can, in order to keep a healthy battery pack for a long time. The maintenance and driving habit recommendations from this video don't necessarily apply to every single vehicle on the road, and it's always a good idea to check the owner's manual for your vehicle in order to learn what the best way to maintain it is. But that being said, there's nothing wrong with going beyond the manufacturer recommendations, especially when their service intervals are stretched way too long. Remember, it ultimately doesn't matter to the manufacturer or the dealership whether your car lasts for a long time. Only you can determine that based on the way you take care of your car. So let me know what you thought of this video, and if you have any suggestions for any future car videos, just leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at my other car videos by clicking these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to visit carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.